The problems that Huw had created for himself were so profound, and that took a long time to play out. And at some point I got frustrated because I thought at some point he should have probably said, yes, it's me. But then, to be frank, it all then got even darker because then the police were involved. And yeah, I just watched thinking, what the hell is going on?
Jeremy Vine, welcome to...
Daryl, what a pleasure.
It is a pleasure. It is a real pleasure. And I love listening to you and watching you and appearing on your programmes. And now here you are with a book. And actually, I was going to say, do you sort of come to a festival like this now, having written a novel, you know, sort of feeling more kind of empowered as an author? But I hadn't realised that you have written novels before, in the 90s.
You know what? The weird thing is, I am basically not a failed writer, but I'm somebody who has not really done the writing I would like to do, and now I'm an old man in a hurry. And the reason it's happened at this stage in my life is essentially because suddenly the English whodunit is back. And that's the book I've always wanted to write. And I was obsessed with Agatha Christie as a teenager. I read all 66 of hers between the age of 11 and 18. And then I think because she was the Beatles of whodunits, she was so good, the whole form, the art form went, and it became silly. And suddenly it's serious again. And yes, so you're right, I'm walking, here we are at Cheltenham, I'm walking in thinking, I'm a writer. And actually, if I'm allowed to say this, well, I can because it's Sunday Times, so we should praise your brilliant bestseller lists, which are the touchstone for publishing. I went into your top 10 in the week I turned 60, so I thought, not even all my Christmases, all my birthdays had come at once. I was so chuffed. I cried.
Did you?
Yeah, because I've always... For certain people, and you may well be the same, I just love to write. I've always written all the time. So I've written other novels, I've written memoirs, I've written 2 novels when I was in my 20s, I wrote one 10 years ago. So I have written a lot, and I just love to write. And I still wouldn't say I'm a writer, but I'm trying. What point can I say I'm a writer?
Oh, I absolutely think you're a writer.
Let's clear this up.
You've had a Sunday Times best-selling book.
No, but I don't.
How on earth? How else would you?
I think writers are people like, Agatha or the guy who wrote Ulysses. Who was it? Joyce. Who do we? Let's just run through all the greats. That's who I think of as the writers. They've got to have a capital W.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And I guess the love of it will help us answer the next question, which is how you find the time, which I guess you get. Somebody mentioned that in your session, didn't they? I guess you get that a lot. The fact that you are basically doing a morning television program, you're doing an afternoon radio show, and then you find the time in the day to write a book and presumably maintain a marriage and be a dad.
Ask my wife about that. But no, I do. I write at 4:30 in the morning for half an hour. I write 400 words a day, and because I worked out that you've got to basically always be within 24 hours of the last paragraph and the next paragraph. You must never let it lie fallow. And if you're in that zone, what you find is your brain is always ticking over on what's the next page going to say, and then you're ready to write it when you turn on your laptop. You also need a laptop that powers up really quickly. Then when we start to spend time booting it and all that.
Yeah.
So
it's a small detail, but it makes a lot of sense.
You don't want to be mucking around with on-off buttons. You really don't. So, and I now realise why it's called a laptop, because I literally will slide out of bed. I do, in the week, I sleep in the spare room because my wife will not tolerate a 4:30 alarm. And I put the laptop on my lap and type before I've done anything else. That's the only way. But the other thing is this, and I think this message is going out to anyone who feels like me, like they're a writer who hasn't yet written enough or properly, is that if 50% of writing is ideas, and ideas you can have anywhere. And so just constantly be thinking about what's a brilliant idea, what's a great murder, what's a great way of, in my case, whodunits, what's the best way to dispose of a body, what's the best way to hide a motive. I mean, I was very disappointed.
Are you Googling that on a regular basis?
Well, there's one day they'll say
that you need to be careful.
Police searched his Google history.
The evidence was there all along.
I mean, the classic murder that goes wrong is that Australian woman with the mushroom pie. Now, who on earth did she think was going to believe that she'd accidentally picked these mushrooms six months earlier, dried them out, thrown the humidifier away, and then given different coloured plates to her children? That's a bad murder. So you want to be the opposite of that.
Yeah. And I guess I was sort of wondering if Cheltenham Literature Festival gathers this year, sort of in crisis for as far as literature is concerned, not the festival, but as far as literature is concerned, and you're sort of really getting your teeth now into writing at this stage of your life at a time when people are reading far less. We have study after study telling us that that literacy, particularly amongst the young, is on the wane.
Oh, I don't know. I think bestsellers still sell lots of copies. That's the first thing. I've just done a signing queue that was actually the longest I've done this year. So I thought, oh, that's nice. Thank you, Cheltenham. It really took me 40 minutes to do.
Yeah. So you don't believe it? You don't believe because it's quite.
No, I'm wrong. I simply can't not. Refusing to believe statistics is a very 21st century thing. But if you say people aren't reading, my friend Ian Dale's just written a book on Thatcher. And I said I can't wait to read it, and I bought it, and I thought it was going to be 800 pages, and he said no, I've been told to do less than 200, because people's attention spans are shot, and I find that absolutely appalling. I say to my kids, who are now not kids, they're 21 and 18, if you can stay off your phones, you're going to be like a master race, because everyone else has got smoke between their ears. But I do think people are still reading. I'm an Audible guy myself.
Right. So you prefer to listen?
Yeah, I just had a bit of embarrassment with Simon Mayo, because I said, I've read your book, I enjoyed it, but why is it called Black Tag? And the answer is on one page of his book somewhere, and I must have missed it because I was listening to it.
Okay.
Right. And with listening, you can miss things.
Yeah. I find that on the Kindle as well, actually, that you can. I like to sort of thumb back and forth a bit, and you can't do that so easily on a Kindle. I do believe that Kindle is a disaster, and so it's gone. I think Kindle's gone. Yeah. What happens if you get sand in it? Also, you can't do maps on it. Yeah. Indexes you can't do. Yeah. Why did it ever take off? Does limit the experience. Talking about phones, then, how are you on your kind of phone and tech? You're online a lot.
I have come off X mostly because I found it difficult with the cycling videos, because they were actually, frankly, too successful. All I did was film my commute to work. I got myself really teched up with a 360 camera, which was astonishing. I used to spend quite a lot of time cutting these films, probably an hour a day or something. I would do 3 or 4 films a week. I would send about 3 of them to the police, and they'd always prosecute the drivers. And then I found I was becoming, according to someone on Twitter, the most hated man in Britain.
Right.
So I thought, this isn't going very well for an aspiring novelist. I don't want to end up in a signing queue with somebody who's lost their driving license because of me.
Yeah.
So I sort of desisted for the time being. However, that's what social is about. Fundamentally, I got into something, and I had 100 million views of my cycling videos, or probably well over. And so I always think that I was doing it really well, but it also was going really badly. And fundamentally,
and this is people sort of like being really abusive to you.
Oh God, awful! Yeah,
being properly.
I bet your wife is getting banged left, right, and centre by a van driver. And just the amount of the C word and the F word and stuff I can't repeat on the radio, and various people tweeting about me getting run over. I mean, I've so many different. I wish you could be run over by a bus that reverses to make sure the job's done. Or someone saying, I wish you could be run over by 5 taxis going in all different directions. Why do you need the last bit of that? Wouldn't it be enough just to be run over? So
it's creative.
Well, obviously there's ageism, there's racism, there's sexism, there's every other. But we need to bring in cyclism. That hate speech against cyclists needs to be punishable in some way, because we are very vulnerable. We need protection. I see you laughing there.
No,
I see it.
I'm taking it deadly seriously. I think it's a perfectly serious proposal.
But when my daughters cycle in London, do I say, oh, watch out, watch out? Or can I just say, no, it's good for you? The thing that's more dangerous than cycling is sitting on a sofa eating Pringles. Without a doubt, that's what's going to kill you. But people will not cycle because it's too dangerous.
I agree with you.
Look, I'm an evangelist. You've got me back onto it now.
No, I agree with you entirely. I agree with you. We've talked about this on the television before. I'm 100% with you on the cycling thing. I wonder if is there a bit of you that sort of enjoys the chaos though of online discourse?
A bit, and I suppose attracting, like flypaper, attracting the flies, the trolls, to some extent, if you can shut it down, is okay. But I'm also aware I got into a thing with Joey Barton where he sort of libelled me, and he had to spend a total of £500,000 paying me, paying his lawyers, paying my lawyers. And I thought, this is grotesque to get into this level of seriousness for something that really is basically silliness. and should be just entertaining. So on Twitter, on X, you've got abuse, but you've also got stalkers. You've got very bad actors in every sense, and I think I'm out for the time being. You know, it's funny, isn't it? Because Elon Musk saying it's all about free speech, it sounds unarguable, and we've now discovered that free speech is basically a license for people with large pot bellies to shout abuse at you when they don't even know you.
Is there an argument that says, you know, that's unpleasant, but they should be sort of free to do?
Yeah, it's for sure. And you know, you're not saying you've got to take these accounts away from people. If they want to shout at people, they can. I just don't really want to listen. But as a model for social media, that's not very good, isn't it? To say, because the first thing that happened on Twitter, when it was Twitter, was that Stephen Fry came on, and every day he'd say something funny, and I was following him, and then David Aronich would say something, and David would have a little friendly argument with Stephen Fry, and that was all.
It was utopia.
It was amazing to see that. I remember when Alex Ferguson resigned, and someone tweeted, "Ferguson resigns, Thatcher dies," because that was in the same week. "Somewhere in Liverpool there's a Scouser with a magic lamp and only one wish left." I thought, oh my goodness. Or then there was horse meat found in Findus beef lasagna, and someone tweeted, "Mafia are getting lazy, woke up this morning to find half a Findus beef lasagna in my bed." Those were the days for Twitter. That was quality, and that's not, the free speech thing is not that. Free speech is about some guy getting up in the morning with a headache. His mum hasn't made his breakfast, so he's going to shout abuse at me and you.
Yeah, and it also sort of depends on how that platform is encouraging that kind of behaviour as well. I think I think that happens a lot. It sort of strikes me that obviously the online thing is one thing. It strikes me that every sort of major sort of scandal or conspiracy theory or whatever, people are sort of keen to. There's a community of people who are keen to place you in it.
Me?
But
wow.
there was that moment where you were sort of held responsible for vaccines, for vaccines, right? And people would turn up at your door.
I know. I can't work
looking to arrest
you. Actually, funny enough, in the queue today for my book signing was a gentleman who I recognised him, and he's been doing some stuff around internet security and just generally. Are there threats that I need to be aware of and stuff? And I have had a number of death threats, and the police have been involved and stuff, which all MPs will say they've had, so there's nothing special about that. But I was trying to work out, why have I ended up as being someone who is seen as promoting the vaccine? And I think the answer is that the media generally did try to get people vaccinated in the early stages of COVID because the vaccine was safe, mostly safe, and it helped us get out of it, so it was a good thing to do. But we probably at the time, our normal way would be to say the government's saying this, are they right? Well, you tell us, we'll discuss it. We weren't really doing our normal thing. Secondly, and this is the thing for me, my shows, Radio 2 and Channel 5, sound as if it's just me speaking. It doesn't sound like there's a producer with an auto cue and a script and that. It's not the same for a newsreader. So I think they think of my shows as being very much authored by me, and maybe then the vaccine thing I still can't get my head around, but it was something to do with what is called the sovereign individual, which is the idea that we don't have governments anymore. You are your own government. You will decide if you get vaccinated. And when this thing kicked off all around the world and governments said, get yourself vaccinated, a group of people said, we will not. And I remember in Canada, they said, you're not going to be able to drive your truck unless you're vaccinated. And they had virtual riots because of that decision by Trudeau. So but
you then became a sort of bogeyman, and you have become a bit of a bogeyman for conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, I mean, I did a show at a theatre where we were promoting a book, and then some people put some posters outside the theatre about, I think it was COVID, or I don't know. Do you know what? I just try to float free of it.
Do you feel safe?
Well, I did have a thing in COVID where a group of people came to deliver a legal document to me called the Nuremberg document, which is about me being put on trial for something to do with the vaccine. To be honest, I lost interest as I was reading it, but it was about 20 pages long. I took it to a solicitor across the road. I said, is this a real document? And she looked at it, she said, it starts with the phrase, in the year of our Lord 2022, so no, you don't need to read beyond that. And also, all the people who delivered it were wheezing. But what I noticed, because I think they hadn't had any proper treatment for their COVID, but they were all carrying yellow banners, and they then said, if you don't accept this document, and it was my wife who came to the door, we're going to block your local high street. So I thought, this stuff doesn't just stay online, does it? It gets real. But I think in a way that caravan has moved on. And I can't explain their problems. I just look at it and I think, I don't know what I'm supposed to do differently here. I'm just doing a show every day. I was on the air during COVID. I honestly don't know what I'm supposed to do. And there are a lot of strange people, and I suppose the thing is that back in the day they'd sit on a wall outside the village and chew straw. Now they're all connected to each other through the phone, and they're all networked, and the networking of people with grievances, and I'm not knocking, some of them may have very justifiable grievances, but people who believe in chemtrails and anti-vax, and they're all networked in, so they're almost like a private army now.
I remember being on your show the week of the Huw Edwards story, and we don't need to go down that path again, really, but again, it was one of those moments where it just felt like this absolute onslaught, this avalanche of misinformation, and there's just extraordinary discourse.
What do you mean? Was that before Huw was named?
That was before, yeah. And I remember you being very frustrated about the fact.
Oh, sorry, look at that. I'm actually struggling to place the story, and then I'm remembering what you're referring to is that when they said, hang on, let me just get the headline, TV newsman in sex pics shame, and I woke up and I said, who the hell is this? And then one of my friends at the BBC said, oh, it's Huw, but then obviously that wasn't at the time public. And then I look online and there's 4 people have been named: Nicky Campbell, Rylan, Gary Lineker and me. But I mean, I just think if you're in a pantomime, you might as well stay to the end. I was going to see Bruce Springsteen that night, and to be frank, by the time I got to the concert, I'd forgotten all about it. As is evidenced by the fact that you're mentioning it now, I couldn't remember it.
Yeah.
So I think maybe trauma has no memory.
Yeah, perhaps.
I mean, it was annoying, but it is just part of the madness of the online world. I don't think to myself that there's any substance or justification. I felt particularly sorry for Nicky Campbell, who was abused as a child, and he's talked about that, and then he's accused of being some sort of level of abuser or something. I felt terrible for him, and he had to take some legal action and stuff. It was the weirdest thing. What can I say? It's just the crazy world, isn't it, of the online world?
Yeah.
And you can't totally ignore it. That's the crucial thing. So you can't say, oh, forget it. And there was a guy, I remember thinking, okay, well, I'm going to pick somebody who said, and by the way, at the time we didn't even know what the sex pic shame was, so it was a completely amorphous thing. I'm going to find somebody online who said that it's me, and I'm going to send them a legal letter. And then they can apologise, and then that'll be fine. And I found this guy, I think his name was something like Reg Plum. And he said, I know it's Jeremy Vine, I've got friends in the BBC. So I got my lawyer to send him a letter, and he then said, I'm apologising to Jeremy Vine, but frankly, on a Friday night, I like to get drunk and post shit. And I thought, yeah, that's basically it. That's quite a good defence.
Right. Well, I mean, not if it kind of really impacts your life.
Not. I'm just trying to find a way of rationalising it. I don't want to have it in for Reg Plum. And in the end, the problems that Huw had created for himself was so profound, and that took a long time to play out. And at some point I got frustrated because I thought at some point he should have probably said, yes, it's me. But then, to be frank, it all then got even darker because then the police were involved. And yeah, I just watched thinking, what the hell is going on?
One of the great antidotes to all of that, the chaos of the internet, really, is the radio.
Yeah.
Which you and I both love.
Of course.
Here we are in radio of sorts,
yes,
with pictures and things, and it's kind of central in your book. It's like it's right at the heart of your book, and it's one of your passions. It's one of your loves.
Yes, I love the radio, Daryl. When I was a teenager, long before you were even born, there wasn't a lot going on. There wasn't any computers. I always say to my kids, the reason my photos of my childhood are black and white is not because the cameras were black and white. It's because the whole world was black and white then. It was literally a black and white world. And for a while they believed me. And it's the only thing that was colour in my world was the radio. And I used to have this portable radio. I can remember the feel of it. I'd love to find it. It was my friend. And I would listen to Capital Radio in London all day long. I idolised Kenny Everett, who I saw once from a distance when I went into Capital Radio. That was the crowning moment where I thought, okay, I'm going to be a DJ or a presenter or whatever. I used to listen, John Peel introduced me to all the music I love, The Fall and all those great bands that he was playing when he switched from progressive rock into punk, like on a dime. And it was massive for me. And the idea that one day I would actually walk into that radio set and then be speaking out of it is incredible. I still can't believe it. So when I look around Radio 2 and I go in the lift and there's Tony Blackburn and he's the first voice on Radio 1 in 1967, I still can't believe it. I can't believe it. And also I'm working with that first generation of the radio industry. We lost Johnny Walker recently, we lost Steve Wright, Bob Harris, Tony Blackburn, still with us, very much with us. Isn't that amazing? Because there'll never be presenters like them again. So I've kind of joined them in the same enterprise 40 years after I was listening, 50 years after I was listening to my little tranny.
And you are terrific at it.
Oh, that's too kind.
You are extraordinary at it.
I don't even feel that. I just think it's just show joy. That's all.
Yeah. And I just what I particularly love about you is you can tell that you get up every day and you love what you do, don't you?
Oh God,
every day you get up and you've got a sense of purpose and you.
Because people say, I mean, you were touching on this earlier. How do you do that work from Channel 5 and Radio 2, and you get up at 4:30 and I say work. Work? It's not work. Work is working and being in a factory or being a dental assistant or a teacher or this isn't work. This is like surfing. You just got to get to the beach early. It's not onerous.
Lovely stuff. Jeremy Vine, thank you so much.